All right, we're going to call this City Commission meeting on April 24th to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Grunder.
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Bloodsworth.
Here.
Commissioner Howell.
Here.
Commissioner Whites. Here.
And we're going to have our invocation by our Vice Mayor, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me.
Father, we thank you for letting us be here on tonight. We thank you for everybody that's represented and every family that's represented. We ask, God, that you would lead and direct us and guide us and help us make the right decisions for the city of High Springs. In Jesus' name we do pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I don't have one in here.
Second.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
We don't have one?
Be in the next
Okay.
meeting's packet.
Okay.
I make a motion that we move past the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. We have no special presentations, no unfinished business. We will go on to citizen requests and comments for issues not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit comments to 5 minutes, please. And after everyone has given their comments, the commission will then answer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Commissioners, Dale Jenkins.
20629 Northwest 250th Street in River Run Plantation. Pleased to be here tonight. I just want to talk a little bit about the lighting at Anytime Fitness. I'm happy to report that things have improved. My property and my neighbor's property adjoins the back of their lot. And Christy Atkins, she's great. I came in here and I took a look at the plans, and I looked at the lighting plan in particular, and it clearly showed that the lighting that was proposed to be put in would go to extinction at the property boundary, which it should, right? So you can see the lights, but if they're not illuminating your property, that's fine. Since early April, those lights were pouring into our backyard pretty bad. I have a little PowerPoint presentation here that you can see. So there's a revised lighting plan right there. You can see the model clearly shows that at the property boundary, those 3 light poles, the lighting goes to extinction. If you also look on the west side, go back to that, could we go back to that slide? The first one, yeah. You can also see on the west side, which joins the retention pond. So mine and my neighbor's property is just behind that retention pond. You can see that it shows a covered patio. Okay, so that wasn't built. It's just an open fence patio. That's fine. I don't really care, right? But what they did because of that is they put 3 big lights on the side of the west side of the building, and those lights just poured into my backyard. And now, can we please move to the next slide? So that's my house in the background. If you look at the slide on the right, and that's the shadow that those lights are casting on me towards my house. And you can see I'm standing with my back on the property boundary, and you can see the shadows from that illumination coming into my backyard. Next, please. This is my neighbor's property, and you can see his shadow on the back of his fireplace, and then that second picture on the right shows the pole lights, and you can see how they're coming into his yard pretty well. Next, please. And then these were taken on the 19th of April, again my yard, and that middle photograph, that's from my back patio facing towards those 3 lights that are on the side of that building. So I'm happy to report that this condition's changed slightly, and this is a direct consequence of the work of your staff. Christy, Alan, the inspector, and Jennifer Dotson, your code compliance officer, she went out there and took a look at this and basically told the owner, you got to fix this. You're in violation. And I'm happy to report that last night I noticed, hey, those side lights aren't really coming into my property anymore. So they went and did the right thing. They put shades, they put like covers on those 3 lights on the west side of that building. But you'd think 3 weeks now, it finally took the code compliance officer time to come out there and tell them, hey, if you don't do this, it's a $500 a day fine. So I'm happy to report that the owner of that business has done the right thing. And now I'm just maybe speaking on behalf of my neighbor. I don't know if those pole lights now have been set down to cast illumination directly on the parking lot, or if they're still cranked up a little bit to where they're going into his yard. So I just want to, I'm very grateful to staff. I'm just saying, you got great staff, they listen to us, they're doing the right thing, they go out there and they fight for us, and so I'm happy. I've got nothing against that business. I mean, if I had a problem with Anytime Fitness, I would have been in front of the commission when the site plan was under review and everything else. I mean, I'm all about, Mr. Vice Mayor, I heard you earlier talking about business in High Springs, and, you know, maybe we should do a better job as a community to make it easier for businesses to come in to this town. So I believe that too. It's more of a tax base for the city. That's good for all of us, but I don't have a problem with that business. But the fact that for 3 weeks, they were basically, you know, didn't care. Obviously, the photographs show what was really going on. And so I just want to thank your staff again. They're great. And if they could maybe continue to fight the good fight to make sure that those pole lights are in the proper orientation to the ground. So, you know, my neighbors got the same satisfaction I do tonight because they fixed those lights on the side of the building. So thank you very much. I don't want to wear out my time. Am I still okay? Okay. Wow, great, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? We agree with you. We are extremely lucky with the staff that we have. The city manager and everybody else has done a great job of putting the right pieces in place. So thank you for that, and we appreciate that. Okay, moving on to, I'm sorry, it's your response.
Do you mind?
I don't mind at
Mr.
all.
Jenkins, if you can, I would like to see the end results of your pictures, what difference it's changed in your yard, because like I spoke last time, commercial property and residential property is going to cause some issues, and we're going to have to deal with it. I would like to see your end pictures, how it's turned out. Because now with McDonald's coming in near you, it's not going to affect your area more so as the other one. That's something we're going to have to deal with and contend to make sure that I wouldn't want that brightness in my yard that time of night.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm glad they were able to resolve that. So I would really like to see how it looks tonight or today.
Certainly. So I'll
If you
bring
can,
those.
you can send them through Christie or whatever.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
know?
And then you can compare them to that second
Yeah.
slide that showed, you know, from the back of my property
Because I'm
towards the
sure with
house.
McDonald's coming in and their lighting, we're gonna have that same issue, because you have more property, I believe, but there is a barrier between the McDonald's and that other subdivision. So they at least have that versus you are directly next to it.
Yes, sir. I'll
So-
do that for you. I'll get with Christie and I'll make sure she gets the photographs.
And just to clarify, weren't you in Boy Scouts with us years and years ago? Yes. I thought so.
I wasn't. My son was.
Yeah, but you were involved, Swanee River Water Management. where you
Yes,
used to work.
sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
okay. Hadn't seen you in a while.
Wow, I wish I had your memory.
Maybe you're older than I am.
I am.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know we take it very seriously up here on the commission especially about lighting, for that one reason. So I had heard from your neighbors. I had talked to them one night, and I went out there and looked, and you were right. So I'm glad that we were able to rectify it, and I know our plan board takes it extremely seriously as well. So I'm glad to hear it's been rectified for the most part, and we'll keep working with you. Thank you for working with us. All right. Moving on to new business. We're going to discuss, consider, and act on RFP number 2025-04, awarding special magistrate services. Bueller?
Sure. Jeremy didn't leave me any
So
script
we
for
went out
this
to
one.
bid, I
but-
think this was our third time that we went out to bid to get, if you remember, we went out the first time, we had, 2 bids come in, and then we had some issues, so then we had to go back out, we didn't get any. So this was our third attempt, and we did receive 2 bids, and I think that staff has given you a report in the packet on their recommendation, for the special magistrate services.
Mr. Mayor, if I can ask a question, what happened to our previous magistrate? He just kind of went away.
Yes.
Did he give us notice? Did he let us know that he was no longer
Not
going to
that
be?
Not that I'm aware of, unless he gave the previous administration that notice, and I just wasn't made aware of that.
Because I came to one of his sessions here, and he did a great job. But then he was just gone. Okay.
With earlier mention that we talked about having a full-time lawyer or sharing, would any of that work in this favor at all with the magistrate? Would have nothing to do with that?
I don't believe
Does
so.
anybody know that?
I think you'd probably run into an issue of dual office holding. Your city attorney is a charter officer, and then the special magistrate is considered an office for purposes of dual office holding position prohibitions.
So that'd be kind of a conflict of interest type thing?
It would be more so that they could not do it without violating the law. The
Right.
idea of your special magistrate is to act as a judge, to sit impartial. You know, I'm anything but impartial when it comes to you guys.
So you wouldn't be able to do that as a
Correct.
firm? Okay.
Correct.
Good
So,
deal.
you know, our firm couldn't do it. It couldn't be that you could hire an in-house counsel and have them also do that. Because at the end of the day, you know, I sit here and I advocate for the city as a legal entity. They'd have to sit there and figure out, you know, they're getting presentation from your code enforcement officer and hearing from the person that's in alleged violation and then making a ruling based upon that. I think there's probably also looks of, you know, favoritism at that point as well.
So they're kind of a middleman for both parties? Okay.
Yeah, they're a real neutral.
Okay.
I see they're both very well qualified to do the job. And I see that the city, though, our city staff has recommended the Gapsky Law Firm for us, is who they've requested that if we would, and we see fit, that we would select them. Do we have representatives from both here tonight?
I'm from the Gilchrist Law Firm.
Okay. Is Gapsky here? Okay, do you want to give us like a 3-minute pitch?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about y'all, or more so than what we get from the packet.
Okay, so I'm with the Gilchrist Law Firm. We do a lot of government contracting. We work for USDA, the Department of the Army. Mr. Gilchrist was in the Army. He was a JAG officer, so he did a lot of code compliance during. So that's why we think that he would be the best fit for the job. We also do have 2 secondaries as well, just in case, for whatever reason, you guys wanted to select a different candidate. We have 3 possible candidates. And we have Vanessa and Christina, who are both bankruptcy attorneys, but everybody is well qualified. We do a lot of government contracting, so I think that's why we would be a good fit.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for coming tonight.
Did you
Of
come
course,
up from
thank you.
Coral Gables all the way here?
What was that?
Did you come up from Coral Gables?
No, I live in Lake Panisofsky, which is a very small town,
Okay, okay.
much like High Springs.
Okay,
So that's like about an hour and 20 minutes away.
okay.
Okay. It's one place in Florida I have never heard of. Just gonna go out there and,
We have a stoplight, but technically it's at 75, so I don't
oh, okay. Yeah? I normally know all the spots to fish at.
So, okay, on the bid opening sheet, I can't read what is in this little box that they put on the side,
Is that the fee?
because I don't know whose handwriting it is.
They're almost
So, in the middle box,
On the
Gilchrist
first
Law
box,
Firm.
it's like 3D.
Inflation rate?
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
I was
3%
like, I don't know what
inflation rate.
that says right there.
That is probably something that I should have mentioned, that we have, so we are an SBA small business, 8A, and then we also have a GSA schedule. So our rates are based on that GSA schedule, which is basically, I'm sure that you guys are familiar with the GSA schedule, but just in case, it's pretty much pre-negotiated terms. So our rates have been, by law, kind of negotiated, and they are deemed reasonable. So, based on
Thank
that.
you. From staff, do you guys have any information that you'd like to give us as to why you guys are leaning one way toward the other?
Oh, gee.
There we go, big dog in the house. Let's go, baby.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Ms. Dotson did a lot of research on the options. Both are very viable choices, and we would take either one of them. But our singular issue was that we would have one attorney as opposed to Gilchrist, where there could be multiple attorneys for different occasions. That was the major thing, just having one attorney deal with our issues.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Now, Commissioner White's brought up something about the other one we had just disappeared. If we went with Gilchrist, does that eliminate that because you all have other options? If we only got one and then they disappear again, does going with them because they have 3 options with that?
And like I said, the previous one may have discussed that, or previous staff may have discussed that with him. I just was not included in on that. I'm not sure.
We have any public comment on this? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, when
Ma'am.
you make your motion for the purposes of only having to make one, will you just go ahead and authorize me to negotiate a contract with whichever bidder you all select? So award it and then also authorize me to negotiate the contract to save you guys a step tonight. Thank you, sir.
That's why we love you. That's why we love you.
Mr. Mayor, before we go, I'm a little lost on the magistrate thing, because we haven't had one since maybe my election or,
It was prior
It's
to that,
been-
yeah.
even- so we've been without one for quite some time.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what happened was, we had a code enforcement person that was coming in, Penny Banks, and we were operating with the previous magistrate under him. Then when we switched to a full-time code enforcement officer, for him to get caught up on everything, we had put things on hold, like we weren't having hearings. I don't think we had a hearing under him with that code enforcement officer. So it was kind of put on hold at that time till he got caught up with things, and then we never had one. He was having people comply before we ever got to those steps, is really kind of what was happening. And so then he left. He took some employment somewhere else, and then we had no code enforcement for some time.
And now we need it for Red Speed too, right?
Correct.
Because we got backups coming with that.
Oh, is
So you
Mr.
have to have that with the Red Speed. That's one of the
Yes.
stipulations so that people can contest the ticket that they have received. So with that backup log, we've got some work for whoever's coming in to clear that up. We need to get this done.
Well, I understand what Chief's saying about having one person keeping up with it, but now with what's just being explained, if somebody decides they're gonna walk out and leave us holding the bag again, with them having other people available, we can keep this ball rolling downhill and keep things moving. I understand when one person's up to date on everything, but having other people available,
Yep.
sitting on the bench ready to go, is what I'm liking right now.
I also think showing up is
Yes.
Yeah,
a big deal. To me, it is.
agreed.
Danielle had something.
Oh, I was just gonna supplement. Part of the delay in this whole process was the original bids that we put out when we got those 2 applicants and you all selected who you wanted. In the process of negotiating that contract, I couldn't get the contractor to agree to have insurance, and
I remember that.
Yeah.
So-
Something to do with insurance. wasn't it?
yeah,
That's a problem.
I wasn't comfortable recommending executing a contract on, representing to you all and having Scott represent to you all that it was a good idea when someone was refusing to provide malpractice insurance and general
I
insurance.
don't think you can do that.
And we're
So,
not in
yeah.
that situation today with these 2 firms, are we?
Which is why we specified in the bid documents this time that they were absolutely mandatory, that those insurance requirements. They were in your bid documents the first time, which is part of what made it so frustrating when we got to the negotiation process and there was just an outright refusal. But we've received proof of insurance from everybody this go around, so that step has been already surpassed. So I just
And
wanted
you-
to provide you with that additional
And you're
background.
comfortable with either one we decide to tonight?
Oh, I have no opinion whatsoever. I
Oh.
think they're both fully qualified law
Okay,
firms.
good deal.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the representative from Gilchrist
Please.
a question, please? Can you tell us what municipalities you currently work on in giving this kind of support, magistrate support?
So we don't currently give magistrate support. What we do, a lot of what we have some different contracts with like USDA, rural development right now, but nothing that would conflict with the special magistrate position. His qualifications mainly come from his time in the Army when he was serving. He was a legal advocate and then also a judge for a while in the Army. So that's mainly where his qualifications come from. But currently, we don't have any special magistrate positions that we hold.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'm honestly very torn because I see the other applicant is currently a special magistrate for 3 other cities or counties, but a one-man shop.
Would there be any issues to having somebody here in person, like the once a month?
Coming in person? Oh, not at all. Yeah, we are available.
How does this operation work far as when you have to make a decision with something that's going on against a resident? Or is it going to be an in-person thing, or with today's technology, is it going to be Zoom, or how does that typically work? Does anybody know that?
We can be in person regardless whenever we need to be, but we do operate remote a lot of the times. So we have both of those capabilities that we're able to do either one.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, that question had been posed to me by staff at one point or another, and my recommendation was in person. You're going to have folks show up here in person for their notice time, and the last thing we want to do is deprive people of their due process rights. And so my
Yes.
concern was on days when technology is crazy, and you all know I work remote, so I understand it better than anybody. The concern when technology is crazy, our decisions being made and people aren't being let into Zoom rooms, and then all of a sudden, have they been denied due process rights and we've imposed a fine on their property? So that question was posed to me. I believe it may not even have been special magistrate services. It may have been just code enforcement general. And my recommendation was it do happen here in person.
I think you kind of get more of a heartfelt decision when you're in person and you can actually feel what's happening around you instead of just on a Zoom screen or something.
So if that were the case and they were in person, then I'm guessing that somebody closer to High Springs would be the person that would be here physically.
It would be Mr. Custer would travel.
From Coral Gables?
Well, yes, we do.
Would that increase the cost? Would we pay for his travel time?
No, I don't believe so. I
It'd
don't.
be- I mean, at $250 an hour, it's going to take
Something
5
to think
hours to
about.
get up here, so that would be something that would be
That's part of
important.
something we can talk in contract talks, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you all authorize, for example, if you were to choose Gilchrist and you all authorize me to negotiate a contract, I'm hearing you that you want there to be a term in there that travel time is not reimbursable per hour
Right.
at their hourly rate cost,
Right.
Attributed to the city of High Springs.
Right,
'Cause now you're talking to and from.
right. Yeah, Coral Gables, that's 10 hours, so.
And how far is the other company?
Stark, or Middleburg, that's maybe an hour.
43 minutes.
How many? 43?
Not counting, not counting. All right.
Well, I make a motion that we go with Gapsy Law Firm. The only reason why is because you said maybe. And y'all know I am not a fan of maybes. I got to be certain. So Gapsy Law Firm is.
Well, can we find that out whether that's definite or not before we make it our decision? Because that's a very important thing we need to know. I would hate to eliminate anybody if there was 5 bidders on here and now we don't have a definite answer here.
I believe she's taking care of that right now.
Absolutely. I believe that Vice Mayor Miller's motion still goes, right?
It does presently. That is the motion you have on the floor.
So Danielle, with that, what would be done here when you were talking about, is that something to negotiate with, or do you typically know, would that be travel for that same amount per hour? How would this work?
I apologize. I don't understand the question. Can you rephrase?
Well, like Commissioner White's were talking about the travel time from Coral Gables, are we paying that hourly rate?
Well, and I
Or
think
is it
that's,
something we should negotiate on top of, this current rate?
I think that would have to go into negotiation. right?
I think so as well, yes. I mean, it sounds like she's going to clarify for purposes of Gilchrist. Obviously, there's not someone here to inform you one way or the other on GAPSKI, and it would be a guess from me, and I don't feel
Okay.
comfortable doing that, obviously, but,
Gotcha.
sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Just to clarify that, he will not be requesting travel.
Okay.
So there will be no travel reimbursement.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It does not appear that motion received a
I'm
second.
going to second that motion based on the current experience that staff's recommendation has, specifically in magistrate services. I am a little disappointed that there's not a representative here, though, so.
Now I guess the question is too, is since we know that they're not charging travel, will the other company have
Yeah,
that
we don't know.
ability?
It's a
And
good
so you
que-
got
that's
a
good
motion
point.
on the floor
That's a
now.
good
It's got
point.
to be voted.
The motion and then seconded.
Yep, so
That's a good point.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor to accept GAPSKI. All those in favor
Whoa,
of?
hold on. You got to allow public comment.
Oh, I asked earlier, but go ahead if we want to do it. I'll open it
yeah, I
up.
think I interrupted
Second.
you on that a while ago.
It's on the motion.
I agree. Yes, go ahead, please, if anybody would like to comment publicly. Okay, thank you for keeping me in line. And this is not a roll call, right?
Can I withdraw my second?
You can.
I'm going to withdraw that, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. So we have a motion on the floor without a second. Do we have a second for that? We do not. That motion dies. Do we have another motion?
I make a motion to accept Gilchrist Law Firm as our magistrate.
That's second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Public comment, please.
Thank you.
Dang, he's catching on.
These are gonna be a lot fun.
And the motion needs to, the motion needs to include
The motion,
you also
Yes,
being
if-
allowed to negotiate a contract.
so Commissioner Bloodsworth, if you would amend your motion to include a permission for me to negotiate a contract, I'd be much obliged.
Okay, I will reframe that and make a new motion to accept Gilchrist Law Firm as well as Danielle to negotiate our contract to move forward with this process.
Perfect. And then if Commissioner Howell, you'll,
Second.
perfect.
Dang, you remember.
Oh, I gotta give it out again?
You do.
Public comment, please. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Congratulations and thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Yes, sir.
coming.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to the city attorney report and update.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be super brief. First and foremost, lovely to see you all. Nice to not see you through a YouTube screen.
That's right.
Happy to be here. I wanted to update you all and let you know that Angela and I are working on, very likely at the next meeting, we'll be presenting to you a resolution to move your public notices to electronic notices. This will save the city a substantial amount of money in terms of publishing ordinance notices. Angela could speak to the cost of that. But every time, obviously, you go for a second read, you've got to publish a legal ad in the newspaper. And right now, I know in probate world, for example, that runs you anywhere from $200 to $250 every time you do something like that. So a resolution will come before you all to move those notices to Alachua County's website. Newberry has already done this. And because you all have the electronic bid program that allows you to accept those electronic bids now, you're able to move your notices to an electronic medium. So Angela and I are meeting, I think, next week sometime with your city manager to discuss how that looks like. You know, your budget your trim notices and whatnot are still going to be required to be placed in the newspaper. Those are stringent. Those are not things that we can vary from. I can't save you money there as much as I would like to. But I wanted to let you all know that we're moving towards that, and that will be probably at the next meeting for you all to vote on and consider.
Nice.
Perfect. City manager report and update.
We are working with the county and our financial advisor and bond counsel and everybody else on the financing that followed the purchase of Canoe Outpost. So I think we have a solution. I don't really want to throw it out there until we confirm with all the parties that we do. So we will have more information at the next meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner comments and concerns. Commissioner Howell?
Ms. Diane, thank you so much for that today with the workshop. That was
I agree.
really important for me. So thank you very much.
Yes, I want to thank Jason and his guys. They, I saw them at the Scout Hut. We're going through some issues with that right now. They cleaned up the outside. It's kind of sad, been going by there and seeing all the trash and things, but now was a good time to get it cleaned up. Looks good. Thank you. Let you guys know. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be quick, I promise. Red speed camera. Chief, you mentioned something about there's a backlog of tickets, and that's because of the lack of magistrate services. Is that
There's only
correct?
really 4.
Okay.
Sorry?
There's only really 4. Because
Okay.
the majority of the people pay those fines, and then if they don't, it goes to our clerk of court. So there's been some contested on the clerk of courts.
I've been seeing some communication out there about
Absolutely.
people getting tagged for speeding when it's not during the school day. Those are on 24 hours a day. Is that correct?
Is the camera on 24 hours a day?
Cameras on 24 hours a day.
Camera is not doing detection for 24 hours a day, only lawfully. I think people are getting confused by when we say school hours. They're not flashing hours. It is during the hours of 7 a.m. to 2:44, with the exceptions of Wednesday to early days. So
Okay.
the camera is active while kids are in school
In school.
sessions.
Understood.
And it will be the same if we have summer school. I'm not sure if summer school is coming because of the consolidation and the finances of the school board. If there is, we will activate it again
Gotcha.
during the summertime.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, can I tag on to that?
Please, sir.
Maybe you can correct, I had a resident call complaining because he got tagged. I asked him, I said, where are you speeding?
Yes.
But not so quick to answer. It was silence. Yes, I was. Okay, then why are you calling complaining? Now, you just brought up something. It's not on during, anytime you go by there after school hours, it's not catching folks. Is that what I'm understanding?
This is correct. We cannot, it's not lawful. We cannot do that. And I know folks don't like to get citations, but I can say that we are very impartial. I'll just say that there's folks in our agencies that their spouses or relatives, my relatives, have been caught by the detection of the camera, and I'm sorry, the only way I can help you is give you $100.
Or slow down.
Slow down.
Of course, my wife reminded me the other day of that too, so. But the same resident brought up something, I was a little concerned about it. If I loan my vehicle to somebody and they go through there and they're tagged, that's coming to me and not, the vehicle's getting tagged, which is confusing because it's never been that way, but I guess it has to be written up that way. Can that individual contest that, or how does that work?
There is a process, and I would also tell them if they went through our floor tolls, that the register owner would get a citation. However, in our situation, it has been done a couple of times, it gives them that information on the citation, but you can transfer authority to the person who was the actual violation. And if it's out your household, you're still paying $100 for the
If
fine.
it's in your household, individual,
Well,
out of your
wife
household?
you're still paying, so I was, being jokeful about it, but you're still paying. So it's transferring
So,
authority. Our
just so
officers
I can
are-
get correct, if I loan Chad my truck and he goes flying through there just to give me a ticket,
It's your bill to pay.
But like the chief said, it's just like the toll booths.
But you
It's
can,
the same.
in our situation, I don't know if the toll booths, you can transfer authority. You can transfer authority on us. So you
through
can fill out
y'all, or this
documentation. Who is
magistrate's
that?
gonna handle that?
No, we can do that. That goes internally.
Okay,
And so we've had a couple instances where, like what you said, someone did borrow a trailer and
Yep.
was speeding, and they did transfer that authority. You got to provide that information.
Well, that's gonna be good to know when they call us and complain that we can actually say, hey, that's what you can do, the process.
Well, we're very open. I take phone calls. I try to keep it with our supervisors. I took one today. I'll sit there and I'll listen to them, and if there's any glitches in the system, sometimes we've had a couple glitches, and I'll just give you one example is the spring break that occurred. That was not on the calendar. That was not on the calendar for our spring break. It's usually the third Wednesday. And so our office caught those violations before they went out, and maybe a couple of them did go out, and then we have contacted those folks to dismiss that. But 99.9% of them, and we take our patrol cars, I do, we ride through it and get some accuracy to make sure it's accurate, it's calibrated. We put a big message board out there. We do a lot of different things, but it has reduced speed down by 99%. So it is effective, and if you don't speed, you won't.
Well,
get a citation.
that's the bottom line, because that's what I was getting at when these folks were calling me. I
know a
guess
lot
they
of
wanted me to admit that they weren't.
I know a lot of people who walk up and down there, my mama being one of them, and she definitely has told me that this is effective for keeping people to slow down at that time. And a parent who sends their daughter on a bike sometimes to school, I really appreciate people not speeding through that school zone. Second thing.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was, we discussed at the last meeting, sending a letter to the city of Alachua as an affected party for the Tomoka Hills Golf Course. Has that letter been sent? I
Yes.
guess? Okay, so that letter's been sent. I went to their planning meeting last Tuesday to hear the presentation, and I forwarded that to Angela, but didn't go through. I'm going to try again so that you guys can see a hard copy. Stacy Greco I went as, first of all, as a citizen. I made it very clear that I was there as a citizen. I told them who I was. I'm not representing the city of High Springs, but I have concerns. Stacy Greco was there from water management or water resources from Alachua County, and she had a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to get to you guys so you can see what she had. One of the biggest things that was an eye-opener for me is a consumptive use permit that they have been issued by the Water Management District, allows them for their private 18-hole golf course 250,000 gallons of water a day to water their private 18-hole golf course. That is as much as the entire city of Archer is allowed to take out of the ground for their residential customers. So it is a lot of water. And but they've got that consumptive use permit. The Water Management District has already given it to them. Stacy Greco made some recommendations that they do soil amendments, that they not water all the time. What I learned at that meeting, though, while I was there, the person who's, I guess, designing it, is when they are watering, they are fertilizing. They put it all together. Every time they irrigate, they're fertilizing. So it's not selective fertilizer application. It's every time, probably every day. I have concerns with that because of where it is and the fact that all of our potable water is downstream of where they are, and that the cross-county fracture is right underneath that particular site. I think that it would be a really good idea if they would agree to not water during the rainy season. Because if it's raining and they're fertilizing every day, that's going to increase the runoff of fertilizer. And if anybody goes to the Itchituckney River and you see all of the eelgrass that's there that's covered in algae now, that's because of fertilizer. The amount of water that they're pulling out of the ground, they're already permitted. That's already their right. But Stacy made her recommendations. I don't know if they are going to listen to her or not. She had some concerns about the size of their stormwater pond. It's very big. And she recommended it be smaller to decrease the possibility of sinkholes. They did not seem to be agreeable. So, I mean, if this landowner wants to build a beautiful golf course, it's going to be pretty. It'll be nice. It's impervious surface, hopefully not sinkhole prone because it's all grass, but still fertilizing every day.
That's a lot.
And that water coming potentially to us, it concerns me. So I just want to let you guys know that I went to that. And I'll get that PowerPoint presentation to you guys because it's a ton of water.
Thank you for going to that.
It was really interesting. There were a lot of people there. And I had something else, but we're going long, so I'm just going to, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm finished.
Ma'am.
So have we looked into the event permit process yet? Have we started that yet? Okay, I guess that's a no. I know I got a phone call from the guys that's doing the car show. Was that worked out? That permit? Okay. Yes. Yeah. The meter situation in Oak Ridge, has that been worked out?
We are still working with the vendor. The vendor who we were trying to recover from has come back with an unequivocal no. And we are continuing to look for other ways to remedy the situation.
Now, Danielle, is that something your office handles?
I'd be happy to look and handle anything, so I'll take a look at it. I
Yeah.
work with Diane.
We
I
had-
get
we
caught
had
up.
Not quite gotten to legal yet because we were trying to work directly with them, and Jeremy's been out this week, so.
Happy
you're our
to
next stop.
happy to do whatever is necessary.
Thank you.
All right. Any priest updates?
I do know that Ashley submitted a progress report this week, but I don't believe the state has it for review on the plans, I think is what she told us last time, and I still think they do have them. But she did submit the report on time, as she was to do. That's all I know.
And I believe until we hear back from the state on the plans, that we really can't take any other actions to advertise or do anything, so we're still in that holding pattern.
I have a slight update, is that I know that we're going to end up having to select a contractor, so I have started the process of putting together a contract such that when the contractor is selected, the lag time between selection and execution will be as small as possible so that it's not stuck in the city attorney's world. It's just a quick turnaround.
And then I know you said you found out some information about the Canoe Outpost that you said you were going to wait to share. But did we find out whether or not we can actually sell the Canoe Outpost?
I'll answer that. I had given some information to Angela, so I apologize. I probably should have just sent it straight to you. Your conservation easement doesn't say that you can't sell it. You absolutely can. You're just going to sell it subject to the conservation easement. The only restriction that is placed upon selling is that your sale has to dictate that it can never be subdivided. So it would just be some sort of language in your, closing documents that states that the new owner can't subdivide the property later on, and that they also understand that it is subject to the conservation easement. So the conservation easement is going to travel with the owner, regardless of whether or not you transfer it. So I'm not a realtor, I won't pretend to be, but I'll tell you that it'll impact the value of that property because it's going to limit what the new owner can do with it. But you are able to sell it. It's an explicit right reserved to the city in that conservation easement.
Gotcha. All right. Our employee of the week is Mr. Jeff Howell. Many citizens recommended him. They said that the grave sites look wonderful. So he is our employee of the week, and that's all I got.
I didn't know you guys were gonna clap when it got to my turn, guys. Okay, I entertain a motion to